Hello. Good afternoon. Unspoken words, unspoken people, unspoken situations we talked about. Today, from grace to grace in terms of health, in terms of physical and fitness, in everything, including even financial. So without going around the bush, I would like to introduce this person. His name is Chris, and he's a personal coach, specialized in health and fitness training, specialist in physiological well-being. He works with local athletes, teams, individual athletes, about nutrition, rehabilitation, different things. So, unspoken.
Yes, sir.
My guest, Chris, introduce yourself. Welcome.
Well, you just gave me an amazing introduction there. Thank you, Ola. So my name is Chris, or a lot of people know me as CJ as well, which is just my initials.
Yes,
And as you said, my one of the roles that I do is I'm a health and fitness coach, specializing in mental and physiological well-being of my clients, and I also work with local athletes and teams
Yep.
on the conditioning, nutrition, and
Yep.
rehabilitation. So over the years, I've gone away and studied, and I said to myself, what kind of service do I want to offer to people? And that's the good thing about studying. You can study. You don't necessarily have to go down the route that everybody else goes down. What you can do is when you study and when you research and you come to some kind of conclusion on how you want to operate, and that's what I've done. I've taken the information that I've been able to learn, my experiences, and I've set them down, and I said, this is what I want to be able to offer to people, and that's what I do. So it's one facet of what I do. The health and fitness stuff is one facet. I do a few other things, but I guess what we're here to discuss mainly today is that particular subject, in terms around the health, the fitness, and
Okay.
everything that entails.
Size and the image, you know, coming from the background that I come from,
Yeah,
in terms of how people relate to exercise and the physiological breakdown of even if it is structure, people are just, always. I see people at the gym,
yeah,
they do training, they pump, they
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, you pump, and
Yeah.
your body structure is not necessary. Yeah, you have the muscle,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
how do you then manage it? Manage the legs, manage, the weight, manage this big. Like, for example, for me,
Yeah.
I just do cardio
Okay.
because I think I've been told that, my weight sometimes impact my legs,
Okay.
most especially
Yeah.
the hip.
Okay.
So how do you relate that to clients?
That's an interesting question. I think how I look at it is that we're dealing, especially in the fitness industry, you're dealing with so many different types of people with different agendas, different objectives. Someone will come to me and say, "Well, I want to look like this person." You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And where someone's other motivation is, "I just want to be fit."
Yeah.
And someone can come to me with the motivation is, "I want to lose weight."
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't stop people from being who they want to be. All you can do is advise and guide them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
So I like to approach this with a particular type of ethos. And my ethos is, and the ethos is your body is a temple. Now, that's an old biblical precept, but it only came back around to me after I had been doing research and reading, and all of that information that came back into me directed me back to that precept. Your body is a temple. So if someone asks me some advice and says, okay, I want to be massive, big chest or whatever,
Yeah.
and my whole thing is that, does that tick the box of you respecting your body as being a temple? Because I know, and I'm going off on a tangent a bit, but I'm going off on a tangent to bring it back round.
To bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I feel you. I feel you. I
feel what I'm
feel you,
saying?
bro. I feel you, bro.
The analogy that I like to use sometimes is that of a car and
Yeah.
that of your body. So with a car, what are some of the things that you have to do to keep it going? So you got to pump petrol into it, don't you?
Yeah.
What else would you say you have to do? Like when you're taking care of a car, if you have a car for 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
what are some of the other considerations you
Oiling.
have to
Oiling.
for sure?
Yeah.
What's this thing? Antifreeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to take your car for a service or
Service,
MOT.
yeah,
Make
yeah.
sure that the tires are pumped,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah. Alignment.
Alignment,
everything.
all those things.
Yeah.
So, what happens if you start to neglect those things in your car? After a while, there's going to be some deterioration, isn't there?
Yeah. Therefore.
And we know for sure if you don't pump petrol into your car's not going to move. If you pump the wrong petrol into your car is going to eventually spoil.
Yeah.
And you're going to need to change a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so it might be even more cheaper to get a new car rather than trying to fix that car if you pump the wrong petrol into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say that to say this. Now, with the human body, it's a similar concept, isn't it? What do we need to live as a basic? What would you say? What was the most basic fundamental that we need to keep the body going? It's oxygen. Yeah? Because
Okay.
the moment you take oxygen away, you're
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah.
So what comes next is other things like water, and we need food, we need sunshine and that kind of stuff. But the main difference between the car and the body is, what would you say? If we're using this as an analogy, the main difference is this, and it's going to sound so obvious, is that you can get a new car.
Yeah.
Let's say you mess up with that car once, you can go and get a new car. Yeah? With your body, you're inextricably linked to your body. You only get one body during the course of your life.
Yeah. No.
And there's some things that people have done to their bodies that are irreversible. Yeah? So with that in mind, with that knowledge in mind, it should be incumbent upon us to take care of our bodies, because we don't get a new body. We can't be like, okay, in 5 years, like with your car, let me change this body. It doesn't happen like that.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
So bringing it back around to your point, in terms of exercise, there's sometimes that we can do things that are not right for our body. They found that they had issues. So when they got to maybe 50, 60, 70, because of all the stuff they'd done in their 20s, they found that they were having issues.
Problems, yeah.
Problems, yeah. So maybe serious chronic lower back problems, and there was a big culture of, these bodybuilders taking a lot of steroids into the body as well.
Yeah.
And if you do that over a prolonged period of time, 5, 10, 15 years or whatever, what happens when you retire from that and you've got to continue with your life? Because you have to continue with your life. Life doesn't stop just because you stop bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So it happens when people get to a certain age, maybe, 40, 50, 60, they're suffering the effects of what happened to them, what they were doing
Yeah.
when they was 20, 25. So my whole thing is that someone comes to me and says, okay, I want you to train me to look like this. The first consideration that we have to, you know, basically, take into consideration is, well, what what are you what do I think is best for you?
For you.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do I think is best for your health?
Yep.
What kind of body type are you? Because that's going to be a big characteristic in what you can achieve anyway.
Yeah.
We all have different body types.
Yeah.
So I say all of that to say this, that the exercises industry is massive,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if we recentered it around your body being a temple and your well-being, then people would be a lot happier. I think people would be a lot healthier.
Yeah.
Because what I would say to you, what would be the point? I'm gonna let you come in. What would be the point in achieving an aesthetic look, but you're not healthy?
Yeah.
So these are a lot of the considerations that I had just sitting to myself when I was doing my studying and when I wanted to offer something different than the norm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because this platform is for, unspoken things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that perspective of that exercise, but you centered into that core that, what are you also doing in terms of what you put in and how you,
Yeah.
whether you degrading your
Yeah.
see people say, oh yeah, I'm taking this particular multivitamin, protein,
Yeah.
nutrients, and you see guys, at the gym, they're just shaking the thing, oh, I'm dragging this, I'm doing that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
fine. But at the end of the day, is it really good for that particular body? So in your bio, you're also a nutritionist.
I would say my perspective on nutrition, I would define it as our relationship with food and consumption. And there's loads of different things around that. So in general, I would say society looks at nutrition just basically on protein and carbohydrates and fats and maybe micromanaging your diet and
Yep.
those things. But nutrition, the way I see it, has a lot more facets to it. It's nuanced. It's multi-nuanced, and I like to really strip away what my clients believe about nutrition and take it back to the basics. And so, for instance, a client could come to me. I don't know this client from anywhere. We sit down, we have a consultation,
Yep.
and we talk about, what they believe to be, or what they do, or what they believe to be the norm. So the client will be like, "Well, I have 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner. I snack through the day. I eat this amount of carbohydrates and this and that and whatsoever." So I like to strip it back and ask the client, well, what have you been doing over the last 5 years or 10 years? Because people can be doing things that are detrimental to their body
Yeah.
over the period of time.
Yeah.
So good nutrition is about redressing and eradicating that bad nutrition you've had over the last 10,
10
15,
years.
20 years. Sometimes it's the whole of your life. And there are things you can do straight away to start reprogramming the body. Because someone who's had, fast food for the whole of their life and,
Yeah.
They, having refined sugars and all these kind of things or whatever, potentially you've done some kind of damage to your body, or your body isn't working as efficiently as it should. So how do we get our bodies to work efficiently? So we start with a detox. We start with trying to train the body to start doing something different. So
Yeah, that's like a 20. Okay, say if you say 10 years now, and another 10 years to detox, that's like 20 years.
well, this is the thing. This is the wonderful thing about the human body and the design of the human body,
Yeah.
is that your body wants to work with you. So
Okay.
the creator, in his wisdom, designed something. He knew that people would go wrong down the line somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's designed a platform for the most part. Not everybody is as fortunate, but he's designed your body as a platform for the most part to be able to redress some of the stuff you've done in the past. Now there are substances in in the planet that if you take that for 10 years
Yeah.
or whatever years, I don't have to be 10 years, you're never gonna see 100% of your potential. It's just how it is. So someone who's taken, and we've seen cases of this, someone who's taken like drugs like crystal meth or cocaine or crack or whatever for a prolonged period of time,
Yeah.
yes, you can still be alive and you can go into rehab, but the residual effects are perhaps still going to be there. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
With nutrition,
Yeah.
it's a bit different because you've been eating your food to, survive, and, you've been eating for energy. But let's say you've been taking refined sugars and, fast food, processed food, all this kind of stuff for a very prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
Your body can still be in a place where it can redress that and detox. So as I said with my clients, I like to put it out to them, well, why don't we do a 3, 7, or 21 day detox? So the first part of this detox may be this, just step one.
Yeah.
So step one is, I might say to my client, and I don't say it like this because we have like consultations and discussions or whatever, but I'm just kind of shortening it for, the sake of our discussion here. So I may say, okay, for one day, for 24 hours, you're not going to eat any food at all. Yeah. Now, for me and you, that may not sound like a hard thing, but someone who's been eating every single day of their life,
every day.
It could be like, oh, maybe I can do that. But by the time they wake up 8 o'clock, they're used to eating food at maybe 9 o'clock or even before that. So when the time it gets to 12 o'clock, your body's programmed to start asking you to feed it. So how do you react in that moment? Psychological. So you could react in terms of, my body's asking me to feed it. Let me go to the kitchen and eat something.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, you can learn how to say no because you're trying something for the greater good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I say to the client, okay, 24 hours you don't eat nothing, but okay, the next 24 hours after that, all you do is drink water. You know what I mean? So I'm adding something else onto that as well. So for the first day, you don't eat anything at all because you're trying to give your body a rest. The second day, you're drinking water because now what we're trying to do, we're trying to flush your system out. Yeah. We're trying to flush things within the colon, within the digestive tract. Yeah. We're trying to get rid of it because essentially what we're trying to do at some point, we're trying to restart something. We're trying to, get your body used to something else.
Okay.
So and as again, you'll go through the same issue. So let's say for a whole day, you was able not to eat anything at all. Then the second day, your body's saying to you,
I can't cope.
You haven't given me food for one whole day. I need some food now.
Yeah.
But then you say to your body, you're not going to get any food, but you're going to get the water. Your body will be like, okay, give me the water.
Yeah.
As soon as you finish that water, it's going to say, listen, I know I said that Your body said, okay, I'll be okay with this, the water, but now I need food. It's all psychological.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but the thing is, if you can go down this route step by step, you're going to find a greater health at the end of it. All we're talking about is fasting.
Yeah, but people kind of you might understand it
Yeah.
by that time. You're telling that client, do this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
when they go home,
Yes.
that habit comes.
Yes, it does.
So you're not there.
Okay. I'm not there
They
yet.
they do what they want, and they still come back to you. Oh yeah, I did it.
Well, but this is the thing, because at the end of the day, well, you would expect your clients to be honest with you. and the thing is, I'm not there to reprimand somebody or to punish them for not being able to do it the first time round or any time round.
Yeah.
So it's about having an honest dialogue, having an honest discourse with a client. If you stumble,
Yeah.
then be honest and we can work with it, going forward. Because it would be no use them coming back to me saying, yeah, I've done that. Because if we're not seeing the results, if you're not seeing the increased energy within your body, if you're not seeing a vibrance, a countenance, because there's some people that you can tell they have a countenance about them. It's a healthy countenance.
Yeah.
It's because they're taking minerals into their body. They've put down, things that are not conducive to good health. Maybe they're doing exercise. There's an aura that people have.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting my clients over a period of time to be able to have that aura as well.
Okay.
And once you're able to achieve that aura, what happens is that there's this mental state that you're able to create that starts to reject the things that are harmful to the body. So there's loads of things that are harmful to the body. One could be overeating. Like, eating to your full. We've all done it. I've done it before as well. But if you're doing that over a prolonged period of time, it's not healthy at all for the body. It's of detriment to the body, So, go.
Right now, there's this discourse about mental issues, mental state of people, and also majority, the mental state of Black community and other things like that. How do you bring physiological help to that mental issue?
It's interesting, and I think I know what you're trying to ask me.
Yeah.
Is that how can you translate physiological help
Yeah.
to alleviate some of the
mental issues? Because
with,
say for example, we just coming out of this pandemic, and there's been so many issues around mental situations. People are losing their mind. The things that they've been doing before, suddenly it stopped, and it has hampered families and things like that. The physiological part, as a professional, how do you help in terms of helping that person or helping that client? Because they've deteriorated since, how many months now? Like 12 months. That's like because I see people where they drink now, and you're like, why? No longer look at them like, oh, maybe what they did or something like that. No, I look at them like something then happened.
Sure.
Now you look at them and you say, oh, how do I physiologically help this or bring that person into that state of mind because they don't. Some left their relationship, wife, husband, and they can't come back. So they in that demoralizing state.
Yeah.
How, as a professional, help them?
Well, I think for me as a professional, I need to be aware, and a lot of us are aware that we live in a complex society where people have a range of different needs and a range of different issues, and there's not one solution for everybody. So some people are not even ready for the physiological because it's all psychological.
Okay.
And what I believe, and it's hard because I'm not sure how we're going to be able to test that in society as a whole. But if you get people to become aware of their bodies, and it's okay to feel how you feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's to me, that's the first step. People being allowed to be honest with how they feel. If you feel depressed, or if you feel low on energy, if you feel that, whatever you feel, that's okay, and you could admit that, and we as a society, we can gather around everybody and say, okay, that's fine, but this is your solution. You know what I mean? This is going to be a solution for that person over here. And if we can start understanding what the real issues are with individuals, we can help them through. So one example that you gave was, like, let's say someone is on the street and they've been drinking day in, day out.
Yeah.
So I believe I'm okay to say this. I think we know that someone in their right mind wouldn't want to be polluting their bodies with alcohol, because the long-term effects of that are a detriment of life, like a deterioration of life.
Yeah.
So there must be something that is an issue with that individual. And we can work out what that issue is, but we need to be honest with that individual and say, you're okay to feel like this, but this is the solution that we're going to offer. I would say it all stems from how we feel about ourselves. Even if some people have like so much energy, they need to go and exercise, and that makes them feel better. And that's fine, because you can exercise. But what happens to those people, for some instance, if they get injured and they can't exercise? Does that mean that, you go back to depression? So I think as a society, we have to understand that we're okay. It should be okay to feel how you feel. And the second step would be to, okay, let's work with a solution. Let's be happy with who we are, and let's work on the solutions.
Yeah.
The reason why it's hard to achieve that in society, I believe, is because we have so many things in society that it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah.
Like a wolf. So you can
Yeah.
even imagine that visual.
Yeah.
You have like one of those I don't know if you ever read the book of Little Red Riding Hood. That was a classic story. Well, when it may not have been where you came up, but over here was a classic story.
Okay.
But if you just imagine a wolf in a sheep's clothing, that wolf is going to be able to assimilate within society, going undetected. And we have so many kind of things within society that are exactly that. So, for instance, cigarettes. What good are cigarettes?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can you give me, if this society never developed cigarettes, would we live in a much healthier society?
Definitely.
We definitely know that, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So,
but the people are pushing it.
The people are pushing it.
People there are pushing it.
They're pushing it. And now it's been introduced. How difficult is it now to eradicate that? is there even a will to eradicate the cigarettes? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can say the same things about certain alcohol, like high strength alcohol.
Yeah.
Would society be better if these things were never introduced in the first place? I'm talking about like things like 40, 20, even 15% alcohol.
Yeah.
Like vodkas, gins, hard liquors.
Yeah.
If we never developed a society with that in, would we be much healthier? And would it alleviate a lot more of the psychological issues that people are dealing with?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So these are the things that we're dealing with. We're dealing with so many of these elements that even when we try to come with a solution, on the other hand, you've got these elements that are still there.
Yeah.
And people are going back to, and people are taking, and people are using. So it becomes a repetitive.
As an individual himself or herself,
Yeah.
all right, you have this thing, whether it's cigarette, alcohol, drugs,
Yeah.
cane, and things like that. It's, you know that it's is bad.
Yes.
So how do you then train the brain to not, because I know definitely it's a process.
And you can give them like an example. So you can say that there's some women that smoke,
Yeah.
but when they become pregnant, and this is the majority of women, they stop smoking for that nine month period,
Yeah.
and maybe even beyond. But why do they stop smoking?
Yeah. Well, of course, definitely because of the child.
Because of the child. So there's an association with what's growing inside them, and with them saying, actually, I need to give this up. It's a powerful tool when you think about it, that somebody can give up something. Well, we're talking about women here, but we can talk about men in another kind of context. But we're talking about women here that can give up alcohol, can give up smoking. I'm not saying all do, but I would say the vast majority do, because of the child growing within them.
But those ones, fine. Maybe because of the child. I've noticed that, this guy is not stable. He's stable majority of the time, but sometimes, but I've noticed that what's the problem? What's the problem? But I didn't really, confront him. So there was one day that he was just, sitting down, and all of a sudden he just was like, I've done it. I've done everything. Done it. Saying it to himself. And I'm looking at him, all right. I didn't ask him what's the problem. Then all of a sudden he jumped up, and I said, wait. But he wants to break up. Physiologically, mentally, I know like we have all these motivational things and things that will help us and things like that,
Yes.
which I also do myself. But that kind of individual, where do you stand?
Well,
Whether it is health, whether it's exercise, whether it's, psychologically.
well, I would always say exercise is good for every single person. If they can exercise, if you're capable of exercising, then, there's even scientific, proof to say that, it can make you happier. There's endorphins that are released when you exercise.
Yeah, therefore.
But it may not solve his problem, because his problem perhaps is more deep rooted than something else. So he can do all of the exercise to help alleviate some of the stress, but perhaps there's something else that he's dealing with that's more deep rooted that he needs help with.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of it comes from going over, your childhood, your past.
Yeah.
Maybe issues with family, and resolving that. Sometimes it's about how you see yourself. He I don't know if he was homeless or what, but some may be depressed because they had something once and now they don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And they're constantly lamenting over how good it used to be. And that's sunk them into to homelessness and to drink or whatever. So for some people, exercise is only a partial remedy, but there has to be like a deeper psychological release for them to, you know, for them to achieve. Well, it's interesting that you said that he was blaming society. And I understand it, but the thing with blaming society is, what is society? Society is so mixed with so many different entities, isn't it? So you have you have the government, you have, even before the government, you have history and tradition that have been passed down. Let's say we're talking about the society over here. So you have laws, history, and tradition that has been passed down that we've inherited. Then you have a government that wants to legislate as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then not
And
just
sanctions.
Yeah, exactly. Then you also have the council, the local governments, and you have your local MP who's maybe caught between two worlds or whatever, and we can't blame them per se as an individual. We can't. Don't get me wrong. Everybody should be accountable, but I think we have to look at the wider picture. You know, because society is so complicated. So, with that being said, we know society is not going to change tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, in the meantime, what can we do individually to make our own situation better? So, I think it's about instilling the skill of adapting, being able to adapt to what's around you. So we know society isn't perfect. We know it's unfair, but should we spend 20 or 30 years saying that?
Saying, yeah.
Or shall we wake up today and say, okay, I understand that I may not be able to change things tomorrow, but I'm going to adapt to what's around me, and I'm going to start with myself.
Yeah.
And maybe I can at some point contribute into to making things better. And I mean, just as I said that, the footballer Marcus Rashford popped into my head. Now he's someone over the last 12 months, maybe even more, has been in, you know, the media for the various, you know, the foundations that he set up, the kind of public work he's done to feed children or whatever. So he's been able to use his platform to actively change a part of society. That was powerful. And it wouldn't have happened if he didn't have the will to do that. So there's only so much we can get out of blaming society, but I think we can get more out of having a will to do what we can do to change society. That's what I'll say.
It's the atmosphere of Olympic now, you know.
Yes.
So, you know, Japan is boiling. People want to win gold.
Yes.
You know, do well. There will be caught.
Yeah.
As a coach, definitely athletes do that. And one thing my cousin, he's you know, he was an athlete, and he always says to me that time that, you know what, every athlete has one thing they do. You know, it might not be drugs, but it might be activities to beat the competition. You understand?
Yeah.
When it comes to drugs,
Yes.
you know, all these things, how do you manage it? Because definitely, you know, I don't want to be too forward, you know. But in terms of manipulation, yeah. So how do people, maybe
Yes.
not athletes, but individuals go over it? Because, say for example, I take multivitamins.
Okay.
Yeah. The other guy doesn't take multivitamins.
Well, let me say this. The example you gave, let's say, for example, you take multivitamins, but there's another athlete that doesn't take multivitamins, and you believing that you would have the edge. But we know that at that level, just say it's just minerals and vitamins or whatever, it comes down to other factors. It comes down to your physiological shape and how hard you train. Now, there's some athletes who are just once in a lifetime, once in a 50 years, 100 years, 10 years, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So take, for instance, someone like Usain Bolt,
Yeah.
when he was winning all of those golds
Yeah.
and he was leaving the field, they couldn't catch up to him. Someone like that,
Yeah.
and I watched a few documentaries of how hard he trained, because he did train hard as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But some of the food that he ate during that time as well, he was a bit more lax with it. But he was so physiologically gifted that no matter how many multivitamins you take, you're never gonna catch him.
Well, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. There's the flip side of it as well. And one thing that I don't know if it saddens me or I just sometimes scratch my head. At every Olympic Games that I remember, there's always some drug issue that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the first thing that occurs to me is that, these athletes and coaches, are you not smart? You're going to be caught. That you can't sneak something past the system. You know what I mean? There's a greater chance of you not being able to sneak something past the system. So why take that risk? Because if you take that risk and you're caught, that's your legacy. Your legacy is forever tainted.
Well, yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
So there's this thing about doing anything to win versus your reputation and your legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, but one thing is there's always a gray area.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's always a gray area.
For sure.
Okay, let me use this as an example. We come around barber shop, this one's like this, and guys were like, oh yeah, I wanna, take Guinness, stout, whatever, this, health sexual performance, things like that, and this, and you're like, why will you do that? I say to people that the brain is something that you have to develop. We have all different things, that are high performance things, and guys right now, they're abusing it, whether it's for sexual, whether it's for performance, whether it's this, whether it's that, but at the end of the day, you can't tell them, oh, don't do that again. You understand? So from the point of nutrition, someone.
I would say with nutrition is that I can start off with a very basic example. I think I've kind of alluded to it before, is that your nutrition is like fuel that you put in a car that makes it run.
Yeah.
Fuel that you put into your body makes it operate. The more higher quality of the fuel that you put into your body, the better you're going to feel.
Yeah.
And if they can grasp that concept and they can believe in that concept and they want to feel better, and they start doing it, then what you'll find is that they will continue to attach themselves to that particular lifestyle. Yeah?
Yeah, but they don't.
Okay.
8, maybe 3. will, I'll do it, I'll not do it, I'll do it. 5 will say, it's a bullshit, man. So
Yeah.
what then? You say, or you just leave it there.
Yeah, because unfortunately you have to, because remember, we're not accountable to what somebody chooses to do based on advice and guidance that we give them. So I can give someone advice and guidance and, come up with a full plan of what they should do. Now it's incumbent upon them to continue the progress of the plan. But if they don't, we can't, as an industry, beat up ourselves about it, because it's they've sought me out for my services, and I do my utmost best. But even my utmost best, there's a limit to what I can do. I can't be in their house when they turn on the light in the kitchen, kind of standing there with my board, looking at everything they eat. Though that might make for a good comedy kind of scene, but it just doesn't work like that. So what I try to do is I try to focus a lot more on creating a routine for them and getting them to. Sometimes you have to shock people. I'm not saying I do that all the time, but if you take, for instance, I'm not sure. I think they still do it on cigarette packets. They show you what prolonged.
The havoc.
Yeah.
Picture on the pack.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they can show you what lungs look like after someone smoked for 5 years, or if what the heart looks like, and what different cancers look like. But yet people
will still choose what they want to do.
Yeah. But then I've got a question: a society that allows the industry to manufacture and to sell something that can cause that. So in one sense, we can hold society accountable, but what we believe is that capital runs a society. And no disrespect to the creator, God, but the society looks at as capital as God. We know that capital isn't God. There's only one true God. But society, if society had a God, it perhaps would be capital, and hence why they can sell a product that's telling you not to buy it because it's harmful, but they can still profit from it, and the government can still tax that and continue to tax it. That's where we are. We live in a society that's very complicated, and people are being drawn with a disciplined mind. Someone who's able to develop a disciplined mind. You will refuse, things that are going to be of detriment to you, but also you won't judge other people for doing it. You will understand the psychology. You would understand why.
Why?
I think that's the key.
Why? As a specialist, can you give us an advice, in terms of nutrition, exercise, how, whether it's blood related, the sharpness of the mind, sharpness of the body, like for some time, I've always been like, for maybe like since
go through ups and downs. I'm not sure there's one human being that hasn't during their life gone through some downs. Some are able to kind of hide it a bit more. Some are able to adapt a bit more. Even, you thinking about Jesus in the garden, even he went through that low. He went through low. So if he could go through lows, every human being has gone through some kind of low. So I would say, to alleviate those lows, there's something that we can do. And you rightly said exercise is something that we can do. Nutrition, trying to get up, not sleeping for too long, not laying in bed for too long,
Yeah.
which starts to drain you after a while. Because sleep is important for the body. But if we oversleep and stay in bed, then what happens is that we become more fatigued.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's being aware of these things. And what I would say to people is that these are the things that we can do to, I would say, like so obvious.
Yeah.
But drinking more water hydrates the body. Do you know what I mean? It helps you to create more blood plasma. So it helps for the nutrients to circulate the body.
Yeah. No juice.
We can drink juice. Of course we can drink juice. But what I'm saying is that our ratio of how we drink water should be higher than, of course, juice, and it should be higher than anything else that we're trying to take into our bodies. That some people say, well, what about a can of Coke? Well, a can of Coke once a year is okay.
I try to, pour water, dilute it, so you get like a can, and you have.
But the thing is, some people have acquired a taste for Pepsi, and it's like what's the word? It's a craving for that.
Yeah.
Which you have to understand. That's what it is. Because if you can eradicate that craving, you would, because there's nothing good we can get out of Pepsi or Coke. It's not nutritional for the body at all.
Definitely.
It has sugar in it, but it has so many other things.
It makes it high, man.
Absolutely. So the more water we drink, the more, we can drink, fruit juice, the more greens that we take into our body. Greens high in chlorophyll, collard greens, spinach, alfalfa, that kind of stuff. We're taking more of that into our body. It's going to make our chemistry more proficient, which is going to have an effect on our mood. Now, if we're happy and if it has a positive effect on our mood, we become more productive. If we're more productive in general, we can become, more valuable to ourselves, first of all, our friends, our family around us, and the society in general.
Yeah.
Mangoes, you have pineapples, you have black rice, you have fish, or you have all these other nutrients.
Yeah.
Would we start to say, oh, we can't live without these other things that we came with from London? Or would we be happy that we landed here and at least we have, and if that was all that was available, then we would do without all the other stuff. And that's a fact. Because our will for survival, when you preserve yourself, that's one of the most powerful things.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, man.
Yes.
Definitely, you have to come back here because I have to. There are things that I want to talk about. I want to ask. Sure. People are there. They need. It's not just just eating vegetable. Because there was a time that I was doing smoothie.
Yeah.
And I was just piling this raspberry, banana, and things like that. And I was getting bulky.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, a nurse, she now said, your smoothie, how do you do it? And I'm like, a bit of banana, a little of apple. There's this, all that sugar. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? So those are the things that, I want to come back and then talk about. I want to talk about, sugar. I want to talk about, rehabilitation. A friend of mine is doing spoken things from Unspoken.
And talk about things that are not usually talked about within the community.
Yep.
And I feel it's been an absolute pleasure just to kind of express myself and just kind of going over my own knowledge on some subjects. And I would say long may a platform like this continue.
Amen. That's another thing, even your faith, you have to talk about your faith. Oh,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, come
Of,
back to talk about
of
your
course,
faith.
yeah, because in a really strange way, my faith absolutely directs everything else that I do within the industry. So when I say your body is a temple, I know that this is that's a biblical precept, and it means and it means so much more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I take a lot from my faith and I feed it in to the projects that I do, and I find that way I'm able to achieve more success in that way. So that's all thanks to God. That's all thanks to
Thank you, man.
His
Thank you.
statutes. So yeah, 100.
Yes, unspoken words. Here, thank you for coming, Chris. Spoken. Thank you.